Hello everyone and welcome to game 2 in the series Idra versus Elfi. Elfi spawning as the red Protoss player on the bottom right hand side of the map. Meanwhile, Idra spawning on the top left hand side as the blue Zerg. So Zerg versus Protoss here, and this should be a very interesting matchup. Game 1 on Tall Dream Altar, definitely going for Idra, as Idra has pretty much stayed very consistent with his build. I think he feels very comfortable off of that 15 hatch. He's been able to fend off. I don't think any cheese or any early pressure has really come down, and I think it's because Idra can handle that early pressure so well that most players don't even try for it anymore. So we'll see what exactly Elfi is going to do in this particular matchup. He is setting up a low ground pylon, perhaps trying to macro up a little bit more quickly, while Idra is going to be most likely opening up with a 15 hatch, followed with a spawning pool, double queens, quickly getting into 28 food, and then just power droning his way into the mid game. Idra's strategy really hasn't changed in the games that I've recently cast, running off of 2 bases, getting 10 to 12 Mutalisks. Those Mutalisks wrestling away map control while he continues to macro up a very large army, knowing that he can macro up a large army because an attack is not going to come in with those Mutalisks out across the field. But this time around, he is in fact changing things up, deciding to go for a 14 spawning pool. So a pool first here on Shakura's Plateau, and perhaps that's based because of the timing, as a probe would have been able to block with a pylon at the natural expansion. You can see a lot of patrolling over here. That drone, pylon now warping in as well. 2 drones coming in. It looks like this one particular probe will be forced, or will be able to just run away once again. And take a look, make sure there is no extractor, to see that he is in fact going for an earlier hatchery. This pylon not going to get cancelled, as he knows that Idra is trying to set up a hatchery. The probe wasn't able to get back there in time. That probe now backing off. The drone still dealing a little bit of damage to that pylon. Here Zerglings will be popping out in just a moment, and we'll see how this affects Idra's overall gameplay. Idra's not going to have that crazy macro advantage. Unfortunately for him, Elfi already has his Nexus up and building. It will take, I believe, a little bit of time for this pylon to get destroyed, and it may be about a 30-second advantage, or a 40-second advantage for Elfi, as now that hatchery is finally being started. About a 40-second advantage there. And that should allow Elfi a lot of room to maneuver and get a stronger macro game and a little bit more options. So Elfi doing a good job with the delay this time around. A cannon is now warping in on that front door. No Zergling speed just quite yet, so I believe the probe should be able to retreat and return all the way home. Gateway is currently up and finished. Cybernetics core may be added. We'll take a look at that in just a moment, as Elfi, gonna warp in that Cybernetics core there, and now knows that the Zerglings really can't do any serious sort of run by. Back down over here, you can see Chrono Boost on both of the Nexuses in order to try to train up more probes, and Elfi is in a very good position. He's going to be able to get a lot more economy going. The only problem is if he doesn't put pressure on Idra now, or say in the next 3 minutes, Idra running off of 3 bases is going to definitely catch up in that macro game and perhaps even take the lead. Now, we can see that as Zealots are being trained, no weapons upgrade just quite yet, no gas as of yet, as assimilators are finally being built. 3 assimilators in total, 2 of them already mining, and we should perhaps be going into, I keep on saying Stargate, and yes, it is in fact going to be a Stargate for perhaps some early Void Rays. That's exactly what Elfi needs in order to deal damage to this one particular hatchery. One of the weaknesses of Zerg is because of their heavy reliance on bases, they really need to defend more locations, and in the early portion of the game when there aren't a lot of creep tumors, it's going to be very difficult to travel between the two. We are going into that double gateway, or double Stargate, so perhaps if a Phoenix and 2 Phoenixes and 2 Void Rays are able to make their way into the field, able to graviton beam the Queen, destroy the Queen, and then snipe down the hatchery. So we'll see what's going to go down here. The key question is, will it get scouted? Elfi now moving around with this one Zealot. We are going into a Phoenix first for scouting purposes, or is it going to be perhaps Mass Phoenix? I really hope that he does go for some Void Rays after this first round of Phoenixes, as the Void Rays are the damage dealers, and the Phoenixes can themselves deal a lot of damage and also gain a lot more energy in order to be more effective. Overlord now hiding itself off over here. You can see some mining going on in the fog or through the fog of war, as these two Phoenixes are getting in position. It looks like it is going to be 4 Phoenixes. I really hope he doesn't go into 6. If he goes into 6 Phoenixes, that may be a bit of an overreaction to try to overutilize Phoenixes a bit too much. And I believe he is going to simply move out with 4 Phoenixes and no Void Rays. Sentries are now being trained as well. You can see that the Phoenix is being built back over here. And now perhaps looking, Overlords are in position. They have no movement speed upgrade, so they're able to get inside. One Phoenix is going to destroy this Overlord here, as Overlord hunting has begun. It is Overlord season. One Overlord now going to get destroyed, perhaps going to pick up the Queen, and the Queen may get destroyed as well. Yes, the Queen going to get destroyed very, very quickly. 3 Phoenixes, another Queen now trying to make its way over, going to Graviton Beam another Queen, so Idra is going to be behind in terms of overall in terms of production, as he is losing a lot of Overlords and Queens. Finally, those Spore Crawlers are coming up. Another one has been destroyed, as the Phoenix is going to continue to hunt for more Overlords, and Idra is in a bit of trouble, but because he has tipped his hand into these Phoenixes, there are a lot of evolution chambers out. It looks like a couple more Overlords may get shot down. Taking a look at the total losses, up to 1,025, and that is going to definitely eat into the overall food count or larva count, as he now looks for even more units. There is one Overlord here. It looks like it will get destroyed very quickly, as the 2 Queens plus 1 Spore Crawler down here. Now, we'll see whether or not he can respond. Yes, he is going to respond with additional gateways, and that's what he needs to do. He now needs a ground army while Idra is rebuilding and remacroing up, but you can see 6-7 Hydralisks now being trained. The Phoenix is not able to really do anything else. Another Overlord here has been lost, so 1225 total resources have been lost so far, and now this is where I think those Void Rays would have been much more effective. Those Phoenixes, after they have hunted for their target, can't really do anything except for pick up a random Zergling in the middle of the field and shoot it down. And I guess it's worth the 50 energy, but really not that great of a utilization, as we are now going into a Warp Prism play. So Warp Prism play, there has been a very strong buff very recently on the Warp Prism. The Warp Prism now having an additional 60 shields for a total of 200 total hit points, so that is going to work out very well. There is an Overlord off over here as well. There are some Hydralisks down here. The Phoenix is looking for their targets, not going to really be able to find anything, as there is now Zerglings that catch a Zealot, a round of Zealots and Sentries trying to make their way out. We are also going into Pathogen Glands. Was that spotted is the key question on the minimap. Most Zerg players do, most professional players as Idra really know how to keep track of things like this, so we'll see whether or not he is going to be able to keep track of it. The Warp Prism is now warping in a lot of units. A lot of Sentries and Zealots are now coming in, and level 1 weapons upgrade about to be completed. It needs to perhaps be chrono boosted a little bit longer, as the Warp Prism and Zealots are now going in for the push. The Zealots are going to quickly try to come in and deal a lot of damage. One poor Sentry, and now Graviton beaming the Infestor. The Infestor is going to get shot down here, and perhaps another Graviton beam. There you go, as the Hydralisks have finished off the Zealots. Sentries and Zealots are going to try to re-engage. In comes the Graviton beam now. Massive amounts of damage as the Hydralisks are getting picked up and shot down. The Sentries also dealing that damage as well, benefiting from the Hydralisks not being able to fight back, as Hydralisks are going down left and right. The poor Infestor does get taken down, as the Zealots are now going to perhaps try to finish off these Spore Crawlers, and Idra, not expecting this number of Zealots inside the base. Not quite sure why those Spore Crawlers are not getting destroyed. In comes a Force Field, but it doesn't quite find its target there. It really needs to destroy and take down these Spore Crawlers. It looks like the Spore Crawlers will get taken down, as Graviton Beam, once again, the Hydralisks are still getting destroyed, but in comes a Fungal Growth, That's exactly what the Hydralisk ordered in order to shoot down and take down those very easy targets, but the Zealots are still funneling in and dealing a lot of damage. No Graviton Beam possible. Zealots do not have charge. More Phoenixes still being trained, and what is going to be happening here? The Infestor very low or about to get enough energy. Is the Zealot going to be able, Infestor going to be able to get off another fungal growth? It looks like no, it could get off a fungal growth, but it's not for some reason. And now more damage still being had as a lot of units have been destroyed in the main base. There's a fungal growth, but a new round of Zealots now coming in. And just wave after wave of Zealots being countered, but the Hydralisk fighting on creep, moving so quickly, able to handle and kite those Zealots. Now it looks like Elfi is just waiting for additional units. Are we going to get a Graviton Beam? Yes, one Hydralisk down, 2 Hydralisk down, 3 Hydralisk down, as the Zealots are now going after the Queen, now going after a free Overlord. Oh, down to 7 hit points, as Stalkers are now engaging as well. The Stalker is not going to be able to deal, or the Stalker with range is going to perhaps work out very well, as the Hydralisks are not going to be able to kite nearly as easily. And now in comes the Phoenixes once more. There's the Graviton Beams doing a great job. The Stalker not even joining in on those Hydralisks that were been picked up and served on those platters there, but now the Zealots have to try to re-engage and get a little bit more room. Zealots continuing this push. Phoenix is continuing to be added, and Elfi winning this game with pure Phoenixes. A Phoenix versus Hydralisk battle in patch 140. Is this the new StarCraft 2? 2 units that almost didn't see a lot of play for quite some time, now making a very strong comeback as the Hydralisk constantly get picked up and destroyed. So it looks as though drones are going to get taken down. The Hydralisk then will finally get taken down. A very smart call by Elfi in order to take down those Hydralisks and stop the production. Unfortunately, Hydralisk then only takes 40 seconds to build, but perhaps Idra will not catch it. No, he quickly does catch it, realizing the Hydralisk then is gone. And now what's going to happen here? Is it going to get served up? Yes, it is going to get served up and destroyed. There is no weapons upgrade on those Phoenixes, as more and more units are still being added. Army composition for Elfi is much larger right now. I'm not sure what Idra can do to get back into this game, as the Broodlings are now swarming into attack. It looks like another hatchery will get destroyed, and now Idra is down to 3 bases. The problem right now for Elfi is that he's still running only on 2 bases. He has not taken this time to expand, and without an expansion, he's not going to be able to transition in if Idra is able to hold off this attack. A massive Graviton Beam party, and there's the GG by Idra. So Idra giving the good game to Elfi here on Shakura's Plateau, losing game 2 in this matchup. A really great game. I could not have called Protoss Phoenixes versus Hydralisk and Warp Prism play. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.